Okay, hi Maria, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you, Alex. How you
Oh,
doing?
amazing, amazing.
Good.
We are doing actually right now enrollment to our new automation program, and just another student called me and said that he watched some testimonials, and I'm saying, hey, I'm doing another testimonial in an hour. Like, oh wow, that's cool. So yeah, it's indeed like a big pleasure to doing the testimonials like this one.
Thank you.
Here like students are doing some starting a new completely
Yes.
life, I can say, even though it's work, but work is a part of our life, daily routine.
Big one.
Yeah, so tell me a little more before you start to,
Sure.
of course students are like, whoever is gonna watch that video, we're gonna post it in YouTube, so
Mhm.
it's optional to watch, and always cool to watch, to prove, to see that's real. Tell me a little more. What did you do before, finding a spin career? I think one of your friend who got the job did a recommendation, right? First of all,
Yeah.
so you're
Yep.
a referral.
She was
That's
the
perfect.
friend of a
And
friend.
most of our students, yeah, most of our students right now are, we started doing last advertisement because we having more and more students, friends recommending friends. That's ideal.
Helps.
Um, and tell me a little more. What did you do before?
So before, so I'm originally moved to US 10 years ago, and my education was in hospitality management. So I was working back in the days in Hilton as a front office manager. During that time, I got an opportunity to start working at Tesla.
Mhm.
So that was the first exposure to the software, to IT, to bugs, and me being a mom of three. It was a hard environment, to work at Tesla and being on site all the time. I started looking for an alternative, how I can get myself into the maybe similar work environment, but where I can be remote. So I can work, from home. I don't have strings
Mhm.
attached to like a physical location. And I've learned about different boot camps and I started doing my research where I should go, but I didn't have a lot of people who completed it.
Mhm.
And a mutual friend of Ina and I was visiting me last year in September, and she's like, maybe you should check it out because you can start with manual and then you can go to automation. Because I told her like, I don't know if I can jump straight to automation, something that I want to and I'm considering. And I've learned about Speaker Year. Then I joined your webinar. It was live like back in the end of September, I think.
Mhm.
And I think maybe beginning of October where I signed for the course and I completed it like what end of January.
Perfect. It wasn't clear about Tesla. It sounded like you did before QA, but in like you didn't do the QA itself,
No,
right? You were
we did
like
not
doing
do
some
QA.
other job.
It was working in the service like a virtual diagnostics. So where
Hmm.
you have an understanding, I've never done testing in the past. I've never done QA job. I had an understanding about the bug, what happens when something doesn't work. Also, as a user, when you go, let's say Amazon, and you see the dog sitting with the sad face, yeah, you know what bug is, but
Yeah.
I was always curious who would be this person who has to fix it and find it and make it work for the end
Hmm.
user. And I feel like that's what helped me a lot from hospitality background where I do care about goods, user or client experience. That's core values, when I work now with the application and I work with our stakeholders, I do have the same foundation where I don't want just to do the task. I want to make sure that people who will be using our product and our application, they're happy.
Hmm.
And that helped a lot. Thank you for, for the course and for all the support as well.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, now as we discuss your background, tell me a little more about the result of that whole
Yes.
program you completed. Like the most cool stuff about the job you got. If you feel comfortable about sharing the salary, that would be ideal because people are looking for the salaries first things.
Okay.
That's the biggest motivation. Any perks, full time, not full time, remote, not remote, like as much as possible describe what are the benefits of that.
Okay. So when I started looking end of December, January. When I finished, and I feel like I should have more put in efforts into preparation. when we were in the end or even in the internship, with Spin Career. That would have helped me. So it's, if I can give an advice, it would be something to consider. So you and I had a consultation, and I jumped straight in. I didn't want to waste the time. I understood that the more I'm going to sit and wait to apply, the more I'm going to forget. And I wanted just to be as effective as possible. So I was applying daily, just even more than was recommended, every day, everywhere, updating the resume and just talking to people. So I had actually 4 final rounds. One of them was a government job. So I didn't take it. It just went to final. It was good. But it was the first close to offer encounter, because they wanted to proceed with the offer and give the clearance. But it gave me a boost of motivation and self-confidence. Okay, I got the first one, so I can do it. After that,
it's possible.
Yes, it is possible. So I was like, I told everybody, I was like, oh my God, I need to keep applying. And after that, I had 2 more offers. So for 2 startups, one of them based out of California, so both of them for manual QA. Just was a difference in the salary. That was the main reason for me. The first offer was around 65. The second offer was 75 plus 10% bonus. But when I started, so I'm working now for a month, and they actually liked my performance a lot. Like, I did release notes, I wrote the test plan, I wrote the documentation, like the testing scope, test plan. For every sprint, I'm making release notes. So they have so much documentation now, like mock-up for design with the video from like Screenomatic that we used to use in our project. So they gave me an additional 5,000 raise. So now I'm making 80 plus 10%. And they just like every day I hear so much feedback and praises. So I'm like,
wow,
you're gonna spoil me.
wow, I'm so excited. That's so cool. I never heard that, that company hearing that you're actually performing so good.
Yes.
Just increase
Smaller
your
companies, startup in the healthcare. So we work with like a insurance companies processing the claim. So it's a startup. So it's small team. I work right with the CFO, CTO, with VP of technology. So I'm really exposed to the higher
wow,
team.
that's very cool. That's very cool. And is it a full-time position?
Yes, both of those positions were full-time. I was looking only for a full-time at the startup. So I was trying to be strategic with the search. So I was looking for contract opportunities at the bigger corporations or full-time for like a smaller startup. So that was the focus for me. So I didn't want to apply like everywhere. I wanted to apply a lot, but I wanted to have really selective categories for, companies where I would be applying for.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And do they also having that some kind of I don't know, some maybe 401k, all this?
Yes, of course, they have all of the benefits. So they do have all of the benefits, insurance, 401k, 10% bonus yearly. So they have all of the perks. It's
insurance, I guess. What else? Maybe gym or stuff like that. But yeah, it differs from one company.
Reimbursement for like the internet, so like the actual perks that you would like expect from the startup. So it helps.
Yeah, that's cool. Startups sometimes even offer more perks than the well-established companies, because they could be funded through some like some fundraiser angels, this business angels, etc. That's so great. I'm so happy about you. That's amazing. And I also remember, Maria, that there was not that much time left since we did the consultation, maybe around a month, maybe even less.
Yeah, since we had connected like end of January, February, I was extensively interviewed. March 20th, I've started. It took me less than 2 months from like connecting with you till actually starting.
Cool. Anything you would, any recommendations? Because very often when I'm doing some consultation to people, they asking for some advice, and I'm, hey, we have a lot of like graduates who are giving a real advice while we are recording. So maybe since you done your kind of research, you got the most recent experience, getting the job from scratch. Any advice that you can give to the people who are thinking about getting into QA
Into QA, I
or
think
in
it's
IT
by
in general?
just being intentional, not being like deferred by, oh, everybody is in QA, or just come down and use the logic. Not being emotional in decisions or thinking like, oh, everyone in QA, there's not going to be a job for me. Just have a rational, strategic approach about like, it's going to be always a job for QA. People will move, relocate, get married, retired, die, unfortunately, choose a different path, they become developer. So this life cycle of people in that profession is going to keep going and going. And it's just up to us, to make a choice, put the efforts, and complete the program and start the job, because every company always looking to hire a quality talent. When the people just set the boundaries for themselves, like if you limit yourself, there is nothing anyone else can do. Like the spin career, and your team will provide all of the resources. You just have to learn and you have to put the efforts. But I feel like taking this emotional part where people getting scared or hear some feedback from somebody who have tried and then failed. I always tell my circle and my network, I tell them, when you have a problem, you go to professional, right? If your tooth is hurting, you go to dentist. If your car is broken, you go to professional mechanic. You're not asking somebody who's been at the dentist office. You're not asking somebody who has the car. You ask the person who are successful in this profession. So stop listening advice from the people of YouTube certified people who know how. Listen to people who are actually in the profession, who are doing it, who are successful, and just don't invent the wheel. Follow the steps that are already there, take the time, study, and it's going to work out. You just have to be patient with yourself when you go to interviews, because I understood that with every single interview, and like I left your voice messages, I'm like, Alex, I have the test plan. What's going on? What should I do? Being intentional and thorough in the studying and then in the interview process is going to help a lot. So I know they were giving me some of the challenges that I send you that I had to complete, but I had to do a lot of like legwork in a sense. I was really taking it seriously, even in the interview process. So when I started working, I already had all of this work done. I just had to change the epic, the stories, some of the criteria, but like all the heavy lifting was done during the interview process, because I took time and hours and days to complete multiple documents. So when I came to my startup, I already had something that they can base off. So this is why the impression was so high, because we're like, wow, like you have so much value that you bring to us. So that helped a lot. And I feel like if people put their mind into it, it's going to work out. It's going to be a good results that, you and your team propose. People just have to leave the emotions, take the steps. It's just like you go to college. There's going to be always people who graduate and never work at the job. And there's going to be people who go into college in their 40s and 50s and they work and they're successful. You just set your mind, move in the right direction, follow the steps, and it's going to be a good result. It's easy to think.
Excellent. Thanks. That's amazing advice. Thanks, Maria.
Yes.
I think that's it. I don't have any questions. I think you expressed all the good vibes and the good stuff to the people who are thinking about getting started. Yes. Thanks about that. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay.
Спасибо тебе большое. Thank you so much.